Hey everybody, we're going to need you to practice the chorus with us in a second here. We've got a song called Let Everybody In by Peter Mayer that we're going to sing. So get ready. It's not too hard, but I'm going to need help. Okay, here we go. Let everybody in, everybody in. Everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle. One more time. Everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Jesus spoke, entreating them to live together in a great circle of love. And when his followers asked him then who should be included, Jesus said, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Well, oligarchs and tyrants try to keep some in and everyone else outside, till revolution sweeps across the land and the people all stand and the common folk cry. Everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Well, sometimes a circle is a class or creed. Sometimes a circle is made of only men. Till Susan B. Anthony says, what about me? Let me in. Everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Well, sometimes a circle is a privileged thing, excluding people for the color of their skin, until Martin Luther King says, let freedom ring, let them in, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Gay and straight, rich and poor, whole and broken, open up that door. The more we are, the greater we become. After all, we all are one. Bring in the people, but don't stop there. Bring in the fish in the sea and the birds up in the air. Bring in the rivers wide and the mountains tall. We all go together or not at all. Everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. You guys are great. Lindsay for playing cello.
Before the service, I said, "Oh, I'm so excited! Lindsay's playing cello." And Lindsay said not to be too excited. I said, "You can't stop me." Good morning, everybody. Welcome. So just a heads up for all of us introverted people, we're about to greet each other. So I want to give you a moment to prepare. To give you a moment to steady yourself and have in mind what you want that experience to be for yourself and for the other person, remembering that the other person may have different needs than you do around how you say hello or how enthusiastically you say hello. So with gentleness and awareness, I'll invite us to risk ensuring that everybody gets welcomed in a way that feels right and good. So if you'd work together, have your eyes open, who's not being welcomed, etc. I invite you to say hello to each other in a way that matters. Everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Now would be a great time. Now would be a great time to release ourselves from our cell phones. So I invite you to pull it out, especially if you're not sure if it's off yet. Just pull it out and check. And I invite you to turn the cell phone off for your sake as much as anybody's, so we can be totally present. And a heads up, another heads up for those people who like to take some time to think about something. At the offertory time, much later in the service, I'm inviting 1 to 3 people who will be in the room to come improvise at the piano with Toby. You do not need to have piano playing prowess or even experience. The rule will be that you only play black keys. And as long as you only play black keys, you can do no wrong, right? It'll sound good no matter what. So be thinking about that. Later I'll ask for a few people to come in one after the other, do a little improvising with Toby. So that's your early heads up. At this moment, I invite Carol Ritchie, your vice president, to offer the land acknowledgement.
With the symbol of these black oak acorns, we acknowledge that we are residents or visitors on land that was never ceded, never given up by the Nisenan people. They are still here among us, despite the fraudulent removal of their federal tribal recognition. We seek to help correct their erasure and exclusion from California history and to support their efforts to stabilize their people.
Our chalice lighting this morning is Come One, Come All by Ian Riddle. Come one, come all. Come with your missing pieces and your extra screws. Come, come with your hard edges and your soft spots. Come with your bowed heads and upright spines. Come all you flamboyant and drab, verbose and quiet fidgeting and lethargic. Come with your large visions and tender hearts. All you with small courage and tender fears. Bring your lisp and your stutter and your song. Bring your gravel and your drawl and your lilt. Bring your anger and your joy and your righteous indignation. Misfits and conformists and everyone in between. Come into this space and be welcome. Bring who you are. Bring where you've traveled. Bring what you long for, and let us worship together.
Thank you, Sophia. Worship meaning to hold up what we discern is of value. That's the meaning of worship, to hold up that which we value. One of the things we value is our young people. Oh, thank you.
I was spellbound like the rest of you.
One of the things we value is our young people, and this is one of the things we hope to model for them, right? The inclusiveness that we say is important. And with that, we take a piece of this very same light and we send it with our youngest members on their way to Kids Connection with a song.
Good morning. There we go. Okay. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains. My name is Randy McKean. I'll be your worship associate for today's service. Our theme for February is inclusion, a concept that has been complicated for me over the years. Like many of us, I've included and excluded others, depending on the circumstances. There have been times I've gone out of my way to include people, and other times I've been more selective or hesitant. So right now I'm facing my own inclusion challenges. At 60, I decided to leave my 18-year-long career in data analysis to transition into an IT support role. Being at least 20 years older than my colleagues and lacking familiarity with some of the systems I now manage, I've struggled with feelings of inadequacy and isolation. It stirred up an old inferiority complex that I thought I had outgrown. Another area of my life where I'm dealing with inclusion is through my banjo playing. Yeah, of course, I think every banjo player probably has that issue, but I'm trained as a saxophone and clarinet player, but I've been playing the guitar for years and banjo for the past 20 years. But to improve, I joined a weekly bluegrass jam session at a local bar. At first, the group was small. I kind of snuck in. I felt comfortable, but the next weeks when it grew to 12 to 15 people each week and more experienced players joined in, I started avoiding taking solo breaks and I started sitting out on tunes I didn't know. This hesitation made me question whether I was truly welcome there. I often find myself doubting my inclusion, even when it's offered. There's a tug of war inside me, with part of me wanting to stand apart, but another part craving acknowledgement and acceptance. A few years ago, one group of musicians invited me to start practicing with them regularly after I sat in with them at their weekly cafe gig. 15 years later, this group, Beaucoup Chapeau, is still going strong, but it took that first year for me to truly feel a part of it. My wife, Lindsay, who you saw earlier, a developmental psychologist, suggests that children who excel at joining new groups often observe first, learning the rules before diving in. This idea challenges my tendency to resist following rules or expectations. Growing up in a small town in Iowa, and as a twin, I experienced the typical push-pull of wanting to fit in while also wanting to stand apart. So as we reflect on the theme of inclusion, we must remember that not everyone may want to be included, and that's okay. The idea of everybody in is appealing, but sometimes we must accept that some people are hesitant to join. Personally, I appreciate the space to choose whether to join on my own terms, knowing I can opt out if I choose. Inclusion isn't automatic. It's something we offer, but also something we must respect when others aren't ready to accept it. Ultimately, inclusion is about creating a space for others to join, a place that is shaped by the unique qualities of those who choose to become a part of it.
I love this about our tradition, and I love the way you did that, Randy, to take something and complexify it. In other words, to say there are more layers than we were thinking of at first, right? It really is. It's our blessing and our burden, right? That we keep exploring those layers. For opening words, I'm going to ask you to help offer them this morning. So I'm going to invite you to share opening words that people have said to you. So the things people have said to you or done that helped you feel welcome, included, valued, respected, part of the group. What has someone said or done in your lifetime that at that moment helped you feel valued or included? For those on Zoom, I invite you to type into the chat, and Eileen will read some of those in a moment. But I'm going to start with the folks here in the sanctuary. Glad you're here.
It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you. Someone smiled with their eyes as well as their mouths. I missed you. I got a big hug.
Now we can start the party.
Now we can start the party.
I recently rejoined a group that I had stepped away from for, 6 or 7 years. And they said, and welcome to our new member. And several people joined out. She's a returning member.
So you rejoined a group you had been part of before, and when someone introduced you as a new member, said, welcome to the new member, several people chimed in, she's not a new member. Yeah. Here's your name tag. Second time you came. Here's your name tag.
Just this morning, I always look forward to seeing what hat you're going to wear. I know somebody else chimed in, and socks.
Someone said to you, I always look forward to seeing what hat you're going to wear, and someone else chimed in, and socks. A couple more in the room.
You have as much right to be here as anyone else.
You have as much right to be here as anyone else. Come on in.
I'm so glad the banjo player's here now.
I'm so glad the banjo player is here now. I heard one from the back. Let's talk. Let's talk.
A couple weeks ago, I was talking to a woman, and someone came up and she stepped back and included them in our conversation, as opposed to what I've received sometimes in the past, where people close ranks. She took a step backward, and it was beautiful.
So a group of people was already speaking when someone else came up, and this person took a step back to make a space and open the circle for that person instead of closing it to close the conversation. Man. I was just thinking about you. Have a seat. You're a Californian now. So Eileen, would you read some from the chat from Zoom, please? And we'll spotlight Eileen so you can see her.
Great to see you again. How nice to have you with us. Someone's face lighting up seeing me. I've been thinking of you. Warm smile, taking my hand, and welcoming words such as, we are so glad you're here. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Getting help to tune into church from home. Glad you are here. So I'm so happy to see you. I've been thinking of you. Acknowledging my brother's death saved my life in 7th grade.
Notice the feel of all of these, just to hear them, right? Just to even hear someone else's story, to receive the words, and what a difference that makes. So words that are genuinely opening, part of having someone feel or have the chance to feel included, if they want to be included. So from that place, we're going to turn to our acknowledging of the joys and sorrows. These are joys, right? Those things that made a positive difference. I just want to name the moment, right? The anxious, triggering, worrisome moment for so many, the risky, dangerous moment for many, and to name how many conversations this week have turned at some point to conversations about how we're managing what we ingest in terms of news, in terms of what we're hearing, the need to pace that because it's overwhelming. I was meeting with a spiritual director, who's a person who kind of walks with you through your journey. And that day, I felt like, you know, those animated views of atoms from the 50s and 60s? That's what it felt like that day here after a dose of news. So I want to acknowledge that. And I grew up in the Catholic tradition, and I'm so aware of the value of the physicality of so many of the prayer rituals. You know, dipping your fingers in cool water, this motion, having beads that you finger, what a difference that makes for taking care of ourselves. So I want to invite us into a very simple spiritual practice, maybe for you a prayer practice, and that is a low hum, a gentle low hum. Now, for the people who need it, I want you to know there is scientific backing for this. It's not just, I think this will feel good. It has to do with our vagus nerve and the way this is calming. It doesn't need to be loud, just a gentle hum. So let's, each in our own way, take a breath. Elizabeth Rose just this week taught another element which can be helpful to many people, which is to simply take your hands, kind of wrap gently around your neck there, kind of holding, and another hum. And one more, aware that we're doing this each and together. In the fall, I invited everyone here to make a sound for what they were feeling, which was a very loud, anguished sound. Today, I wanted to invite something more calming. And Claire has something to say about that.
So my plum tree and my kumquat tree just burst into bloom, and the sound in the room is the sound of the bees in my trees right here. That humming, and it's the same sound.
So Claire is naming that her plum and kumquat trees just bloomed, and that the sound that we just made together was the very same sound as the bees that were in and out of the blossoms for their own purposes, but also pollinating at the same time. Thank you. From that place, I invite you to notice what's stirring inside you, whether it's a spinning atom or a gentle hum or something else. To take the moment to acknowledge what's there in the ways that feel doable, that feel safe enough. And we'll share this community ritual for those who wish of coming forward and placing a stone in the bowl of water to represent all of that. Or if you're on Zoom, you have the possibility of typing into the chat some of what you carry, and an O or 0 to mark the equivalent of a stone, where you want to acknowledge something but don't necessarily want to verbalize or say what that is. I invite us to hold each other and to bring to this moment your own practices, whether that's a time of prayer, whether it's a time of quiet centeredness or attention to your breathing or listening to the still small voice inside of you. But to know that it's not as if nothing's happening just when you're not moving, right? That we're in this together for this time. I'll invite Corey, our lay pastoral care representative today, to join me as we do. There are stones for all the rest. And a thoughtful invitation that will sound familiar by the Reverend Darcy Lane. So glad you're here.
So glad you're here. So glad you're here. Like a mantra, they repeat with warm smiles. You must be tired. You must be hungry. You must be cold. It means so much that you would come all this way to be with us. Do you still drink decaf? I made those walnut cookies you like when I heard you were coming. Honey, take her bags. Tell us about your trip. No, take my chair. I'll get another from the den. Take your time. Rest a while. So glad you're here. So glad you're here.
I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to join in singing. Thank you. Singing together gives us a chance to breathe together, too. Inclusion is what happens when people feel valued, respected, and part of a group, in theory. Although our record is spotty and our living of it very imperfect, inclusion is a key moral value in our tradition. Our collective aspiration to open the circle of our care and inclusion as wide as possible was born in our Universalist ancestors' understanding of God as absolutely inclusive. everybody in as far as God is concerned, and from which our ancestors reasoned that humans should be reaching, therefore, for that same goal as well. Also born in our Unitarian ancestors' insistence that because every person is born inherently good, not inherently flawed, born inherently good, and because every person has a chance in their lifetime to grow their goodness, therefore, every person is worthy of belonging, of being included. Both traditions came to that, which is what brings us to this place of trying to hold this wide umbrella in many different ways. But inclusion as an expansive ideal is not a value that everyone can tolerate emotionally. For almost half of this nation, the moral value of widening inclusion past our familiar circles of similarity and past the established categories that we know, a moral value that's captured really quite beautifully in the words diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the ambiguity that wider inclusion raises, right? You have to stretch. It stretches our boundaries, our openness. It demands that openness. That can be felt as so frightening and so dangerous to people who need predictable security and safety and sureness, right? So for almost half the nation, that is too uncomfortable, too dangerous. And so now it's not only by many people not held as a moral value, it's actually seen as so disorienting, so frightening, so dangerous that it can't be allowed, and it's being forbidden and punished, as well as defunded and rooted out and dismantled, right? For almost half the nation, this wideness is just too much, and it puts people, especially with any kind of marginalized identity, in harm's way out of that fear. I've been thinking about the way that trans people are being held out at the front edge of the attack to keep people's fear stoked, which is easy to do because the very idea of a trans person so challenges one of the most rigidly held and foundational concepts of identity, the concept of maleness and femaleness. All that happens, right, when a baby's about to be born, and the need to know and the discomfort when someone doesn't know the gender that's named, right? Holding this theme of inclusion during Black History Month, exactly while DEI of all things is being portrayed as and treated as the central evil of our times, that's such a powerful and painful contrast, I think, right? Boy, does this put this in strong relief. And therefore, it's also illuminating and clarifying. If we had any notion in easier times that our UU values don't matter that much, may this moment help us know how much our values do matter, our moral values, not to be taken for granted. So this isn't just a concept of, oh, I like this to be true. It's a deep moral value in our tradition. The full expression of this month's theme is living love through the practice of inclusion. So it's not just about inclusion, it's about living love through the practice of inclusion. For our ancestors and for us, growing our own capacity for inclusion is one important way for us to live out this central moral value of love. Inclusion is what love looks like in action. In this moment, it is a form of resilience, and I suggest resistance too, right? To hold open the space for inclusion. So because practice begins close in, near at home, I'm going to invite us in a few moments to brave a glimpse at inclusion and exclusion right here at UUCM. In a few moments, I'll be asking you what helps you to feel included, or what would help you to feel included or more included here at UUCM, in part by being aware of what doesn't quite feel included to you. And this is true, I would offer, at any level of connection and engagement you have with this community, even if you're in the door for the very first time and all you have is the last 50 minutes or 40 minutes or so. So to get at what helps you or would help you feel included, it may help first to think about what gets in the way of your feeling included, or about what parts of you don't feel seen or respected or valued or welcome. A number of weeks ago, I talked about those heretical parts of us, right, that might not feel like we can bring them out. Now, you may have specific memories that come to mind, but out of that awareness, whatever it is, I will be asking you to name, if you can and if you're willing, what might help you, what might help that part of you or aspect of you to feel more included, more respected, seen, valued, welcome. And I will ask this morning, knowing that what is true for any of us, for you, what is true for you is almost certainly true for other people, whether they're here now or yet to come. So we have not only who's here, but who's not yet here in mind and heart. So while you're thinking, I will share that years ago at our big national annual gathering of Unitarian Universalists, I attended a workshop about how to welcome people into our congregations. It was titled, How to Repel Fewer Visitors. First, the title made us laugh, and then it made us go, oh. The title pointed to a meaningful truth that despite our aspirational moral value of inclusion and despite our good intentions, what we say and the ways we do or don't do things can leave people out, can leave people feeling excluded. This is human, right? This will be inevitable at some level, and so we're always looking at it. Not only what we do or say as we greet people at the doorway, our kind of official welcome spot, but through the kinds of music we use or don't use, the kinds of songs we sing or don't sing, who is leading and speaking from up front, how we arrange the chairs, the spaces we leave or don't leave for wheelchairs or walkers, whether we insist that people talk to each other in the service or sit mostly still in silence, whether there's a comfortable chair and a place for a nursing mother, assumptions we make about people's ability to pay for a ticket for an event, the kinds of people we show in our slides, the size of the text, asking everyone to stand when not everyone can stand, all the expectations we hold and communicate explicitly or implicitly about who belongs here, or who can be at home here, or who is seen and valued, who's normal, who's included, who's welcome. Now, it's not uncommon for me as I am working on a service to gather various books and articles to draw on and several readings and quotes to use in the service, and sometimes even the special songs, only to sit down and look at it all and realize that all my quotes and resources are by men, and usually white men at that. Not that men and white men don't have really good things to say, but if all the sources I'm drawing on are men, not only is the service less richly informed, it also quietly sends a message about who's really valued and important here. Tiffany, Jana, and Michael Barron write that one of the most critical aspects of inclusion is that it must happen actively. When we just passively think of ourselves as good people, but don't do anything to actively include others, we passively exclude people without intending to. But without the direct attention, we will passively exclude people. So based on your experience so far, what helps you feel welcome here, or would help you feel welcome here? Again, maybe starting with what part of you doesn't always feel welcome in the way we do things or don't do things. What might help you feel more welcome and included? Once again, I'll start in the sanctuary, but also people on Zoom will have a chance to type into the chat, and we'll ask Eileen to share them. So help me know. What's something you're willing to, I know this is tender perhaps and risky for some people, so what would you name?
And they only meet 3 Sundays a month, and then one is Zoom. But last couple weeks ago, we had our Soul Circle group here, and it was kind of loud, but there was like an exercise group going on, and then there was another meeting, another part, and And the fact that the church has so many activities throughout the week, I think is really welcoming and meets a lot of people's needs.
So offering many kinds of experiences is a way of helping include people. Keeping the space alive and used. What else would help you feel more welcome? Beryl. Finding a way to contribute. So bringing yourself would help you feel included and welcome. Yes. So noted. Yeah, Jenny, what would you say? Mm-hmm. So you feel trusted, and that helps, and you trust other people. It comes together, doesn't it? Feeling trusted and trusting others. Yeah, Sandra. Small group gatherings where you get to be with a small group of people, like 6 or 8 people, where you can really get to know people and be seen, in fact, yeah. Being remembered from week to week. So when you're a new person, yeah, that someone remembers you helps you feel included. I heard something. Being invited, being actively invited, yeah. You came in and thought you might have to fill out a new name tag, but actually there was one, and somebody helped you find the one that was already printed for you. Ian, thank you. Gail.
If I do something which is upsetting to someone else, when they say, help me understand, rather than assuming that I'm a bad person, makes me feel included.
I sometimes feel excluded by the physical space here. The hallways are too narrow for me to feel comfortable walking to the back, and the back is often really full of people, so I don't go there, and I know I'm not alone, not to mention parking.
So more spacious space would feel more welcoming, both in the building, but also outside and trying to find a parking space. Yeah. If it's short, I can repeat.
When I make a mistake, yet again, to hear somebody say, it's okay, or hey, I forgive you, or hey, can we talk about it? That would feel so good, because sometimes you keep it in yourself and you realize, oh my God, I've made a faux pas, and now what?
Yeah, Nat.
Yeah, just seeing like different intergenerational like worship associates. The first day I came in, Sophia was up there,
Mm-hmm.
and also just seeing, and I was like, yeah, this is great. And maybe something that could be more inclusive is different kinds of music, so like reggae or music from this era.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm not saying that, but like maybe something, maybe that could be cool.
We get you. So seeing a greater variation and intergenerational look of who do you see up front, and music that also represents people of different ages. All around, yeah, yeah. So as a parent whose child came here before you, when people say how much they love and appreciate and value your child, and thank you for bringing her, that makes you feel welcome. And also you can point out that she's the one that brought you.
So 2 summers ago, there was a queer family picnic, and there was UU community members at that, and it was really important to me because that's something that's important to me, and it was outside of just the Sunday service that just showed that they care about the queer community, especially queer families.
So the presence of this community at the queer family picnic, right? And that this community was there, and that it was something outside of just something in the building on a Sunday morning. Yeah.
The fact that you're doing what you're doing now makes me feel even more welcome.
The fact that we're actually asking and yeah, yeah. seeing people talk to people they don't know at coffee hour, which takes some courage for some of us. Yeah. Eileen, how about some from online?
When people use my name when they say hello, that's from Marilyn. Having a role to play or take on. A warm greeting, people really interested in getting to know me. Finding a front door label on UUCM's front door today, avoiding confusion for visitors. When I'm not ignored if I sit on my walker during coffee. For me, as a person with hearing loss, having people around me speak as clearly as possible helps me feel included in conversations. I feel included when someone greets me using my name. One more. Having online access to services and meetings. Yes.
Online access, yes. What hasn't been named that feels important yet to name? Not that this is the sum total, but in this moment, what else feels important to name?
I am on a text chain that I haven't responded to in a very long time that invites me to an event every other week. And I know that someday I might go back, but it's kind of nervous when you haven't been to something in a long time, but there's always these continual reminders of you are welcome whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Rowan. Uh-huh. Yeah. So for the people who like to be recognized by name, that's not something that's available to you, and you still love people. Yeah. So it's important to know that, yeah, we're all in different places. Connie. Connie hasn't been here in a while, and so over and over she's hearing, welcome back, welcome back. This is not meant to be the end of the conversation of inclusion. I will name on behalf of some people who feel a need for more naming of and drawing on deity or God or spirit or the example of Jesus. Some people say, I just don't get enough of that, which helps them not feel welcome, right? So I know there's some need for that. And some people for whom offering that doesn't feel welcoming, right? Which is why we have to keep naming that we're not all the same in this regard. We won't make any assumptions about all being the same. There's one of our challenges. I'd like to take just a moment to have another related question. Because our services have been so very full in the last month or so, couple months, and for good reason, right? People are really seeking community. So we need to do something about that in order, if we're to make space, right? If we're to be inclusive. That might be a second service that could look like something else. So my question for you in this moment is, when you come on a Sunday morning, what is it that you get here that's so important? So that as we think about what the other things we might offer to help us broaden, we know what it is that people are actually getting when they come here. We won't make any assumptions. So what are some of the things? And if this is true for you too as well, I invite you to wave your hand, or in the chat, feel free to say me too to these. Knowing there's a safe place for my child who enjoys coming here. Yeah. So something here that helps you feel grounded. So you want the experience here to nurture you spiritually.
I like to sing together.
Singing together is important to you. The quality of time for you is very different in the room than on Zoom, so it's part of what brings you for the quality that you feel here when you're together with people. Elizabeth.
Spiritual inspiration
spiritual inspiration, and the quality of the people in the community. A space to gather with kind people. Food for thought that carries you through the week. Agreeing. Catherine's agreeing. Companionship. So again, being with kindred spirits in some way is part of what I'm hearing. Yeah. A place for pausing from everything that's going on. I wrote in my column this past week that I'm torn every Sunday between offering respite from the news and helping us face the news. Christy? Being with other insecure people. Sorry? Consistency. So consistency of something that's available. Yeah. Getting to meet people you wouldn't otherwise. People are friendly, so it's important to you to have friendly people and to find people to be friends with. Fellowship with kindred spirits. You can see as we listen to some of the answers, these could happen in slightly different ways, perhaps, right? The form it takes to offer these things could vary. You get filled with joy being with people, and your heart rebounds from the challenges and difficulties of the moment. The beauty of the altar. So the visual, right? Yeah. I was thinking about this. Beth and I have an ongoing thing. I like asymmetry. That's what feels comfortable to me, so my eyes move. But I'm so aware, this week I was thinking about this, how calming symmetry is, right? It's much more still. And for a lot of people, that's a calming, just like the humming, just the visual can actually affect us. Eileen, is there something that's been named? Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back. Eileen, is there anything named on Zoom that hasn't been named yet?
Hearing music that awakens emotions and singing lyrics that resonate with the message of the service. Encouragement or heartening and support and a beautiful vision. Community and inclusion. Yeah, that's it.
Andy. The rituals, the fact that some things repeat each time, which itself has both comfort, I would offer, and it builds connection over time and meaning, right? A repeated ritual gets more and more meaningful. Lori? The individual sharings. So the chance to hear from people, so it piques your interest in wanting to spend more time with them when people share. Yvonne. The symbols of the chalice and flame. As a newbie here, you can't believe you run into people you haven't seen in 30 years. Jenny. So the support you received from the community. Again, not a conversation that's ending, but beginning. As we look at, do we do 2 services? What time if we did them both on Sunday mornings? Does it need to be on Sunday mornings? What needs to happen within the service, right? These are all questions we'll be coming to you to help explore. So thank you. This is helpful to start to get a read, and my hope is help you think about what it is that really matters. So if a service, it's helpful to have something take a very different shape because it can do those things and some others that we aren't doing the way we do things now. That's one possibility. So I want to thank you for your willingness to name those and encourage you to keep naming those. And to close this section, I named at the beginning of the month the reframing of the concept of microaggressions as subtle acts of exclusion. And I originally thought that was going to be more the focus for today, but the message needed to go a different way today. So that's really, it's an important one though. And so my hope will be to come back to that, whether it's in a Sunday or another kind of event. But if it's something that draws you, the book Subtle Acts of Exclusion is a really beautiful, helpful explanation and framing and toolkit for how to face that. It's by Tiffany Jana and Michael Darren. So I will close this part by echoing our opening, those words of Ian Riddell, to invite all of us into the honest, caring, active practice of inclusion in and through this particular community, and for your help in an ongoing way in knowing how we can together keep living most fully into the following invitation, so that all who enter or want to enter here can feel it deeply, including you. Come one, come all. Come with your missing pieces and your extra screws. Come with your hard edges and your soft spots. Come with your bowed heads and your upright spines. Come all you flamboyant and drab, verbose and quiet fidgeting and lethargic. All you with large vision and tender hearts. All you with small courage and tender fears. Bring your lisp and your stutter and your song. Bring your gravel and your drawl and your lilt. Bring your anger and your joy and your righteous indignation. Misfits and conformists and everyone in between, come into this space and be welcome. Bring who you are. Bring where you've traveled. Bring what you long for. May all that we do here in this community help it to be so. Black key piano improvisers? Anyone? Beryl? Jill? One more? Okay, come on up.
While we're getting ready for the black keys, I just wanted to let you know now it's time for our offering. We can extend this notion of inclusion beyond our doors. It's not only who is here with us inside the room or on Zoom, but those that share our values in the community that we can include. To that end, 50% of our offering this month will support Community Beyond Violence, whose mission is to heal the trauma of sexual assault and domestic violence by providing crisis intervention, safety, advocacy, and education to survivors in our community. And on this slide are more ways for you to give. And if the greeters can please come forward. Thank you for your generosity and thank you for your gifts. We dedicate these offerings to the ideal that we can all live in safety together, each and every one of us. I want to thank everyone that helped out today. I want to thank Sophia. I want to thank Lindsay for playing cello with us today. I want to thank Carol for doing the land acknowledgement. Paul in Cyprus back doing sound. Eileen on Zoom. Shanti for the great altar setting today. I want to thank Gwen, Jean, and Carl for being our greeters, ushers, and Corey for the late pastoral care help, and Shannon and Lindsay once again up with the kids, and refreshments among those that contributed: Cassandra, Cynthia, Carol, Shannon, and Elizabeth. And I want to thank you all for playing, Beryl and Jill and Rain for playing. And so announcements, we've got UU history sessions coming up, starts this Tuesday and various times. So February 28th is an economic blackout. We're going to have a day of resistance, resilience, and action that starts at noon, goes till 8:30. You can contact Bending the Arc at uugrassvalley.org, but there'll be activities here throughout the day for that. And we've got an auction. We're seeking donations. The auction date is Saturday, May 3rd, 2 through 6. And the contact information is there, auction@uugrassvalley.org. It's pledge season. Yes, we ask for money and other things. And you're invited to a cottage meeting. We've got 3 of them happening in here, March 2nd, 9th, and the 16th. But we also are going to have an opportunity for a Zoom. There'll be a Zoom cottage meeting. So keep on the lookout for an email or announcements about that. But you can sign up in the foyer for those. And upcoming events will be on the website. So.
Randy, thank you for not only being worship associate, but for leading the song at the beginning. Well done. Yeah. The words of our closing song were written for the Unitarian youth and the Universalist youth who at their Continental Convention of 1953 and 54 together decided to merge to form the liberal religious youth of the United States and Canada. In other words, leading the way for everyone else for the Unitarian Universalist merger in 1961. So the youth led the way first, and this song was written with that coming together in mind. And I invite you to, in the spirit of this moment, when energies are being spent to divide and to prevent inclusion, to take the words of the song to heart as we sing them together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to join in breathing and singing together. This is the aspiration of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, and so this community, that here we are each invited to bring who we are, who we really are, that here we're asked to bring where we've traveled and all that our journey has shown us. That here we are encouraged to name what we long for in the deepest corners of our heart, and to have who we are and where we've traveled and what we long for welcomed in, known, witnessed, valued, and included. May we keep striving, each of us and together, to help all of that be so, here and everywhere. And with that, we offer these good words to each other to send us on our way and remind us that we're not alone. Together, let us carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. We will see you for refreshments and conversation here and various other events. Otherwise, we'll see you next Sunday for Life Flows On, trusting yourself to the water.